you experience breath occurring in this bottom dome of your pelvis. And what do you notice on the inhale? What do you notice on the exhale? Generally, if you're noticing movement, the movement is different per inhale, per exhale. Does breath expand? The dome out? Does the dome get kind of pulled or drawn or lifted? When do you notice that? Once you have once we have that sense of the musculature, the reflexes, the location, the how it's moving, when it's moving, there's quite a bit of choice or training that can certainly occur in this muscle area. And so I'm just going to ask these in very broad general questions so as to not sway you into changing any of the muscle movements there right now. But do the movements of the muscles, the perineum, the genitals, the anus, the muscular bottom dome of the pelvis, are you volitionally coordinating them or letting them occur with your breath? And the one example I gave us yesterday was if we were going to vocalize something or cough, and we got ourselves ready to propel that air right up before any air moved over our vocal structure or out our mouth, we would, there's a little reflexive something that happens in the floor of the pelvis every time we speak, every time we yell, every time we cough. So that could be a gateway to finding this little movement. I shouldn't say every time. Anyway, so we're just starting and feeling our breath here, the base of the pelvis. We'll be walking and working our way up over the time. So I just thought it'd be a fun place to start. Let's set our right leg out. And if you have if the knee ankle permits, we'll go heel behind hip. If that's not your best starting spot, heel in front of pelvis. No matter the foot position, setting the legs out enough to create just a bit of stretch through the inner leg. because we don't explicitly do work with bandhas. You might be doing that from your own studies, but because we don't do, I don't at least cue work with bandhas expressly, I think it's worthwhile to notice some of these things in the anatomy, some of these movements in these diaphragm areas of our anatomy. So it's just another way to study the, the yoga topics. Inhale, allowing your breath, feeling for your breath to descend to the pelvic floor. The groin will reach the arms out. And then exhale, reach forward. And as you're reaching forward, as you're moving into this chest opener, so we will eventually work with this left shoulder, I just want to give a little bit of freestyle time in here. Because if you need to come into this pose 2, 3, 4, 5 times, in order to feel what the pelvic muscles are doing as you're moving into this deeper stretch or this different angle of the pelvis or the spine, it might be kind of worthwhile. When we move on exhale, is there a certain muscular action occurring at the root, the floor of the pelvis, as we're moving? I find that the muscular movements and the fluctuations, the felt changes in the floor of the pelvis have a lot to do with how we experience our back and how we experience our hips. So these are kind of like root, deep muscles. When you're in the pose, can you feel your breath occurring and influencing the bottom of the pelvis on the inhale and the exhale? And forward fold. We'll bring the left hand down to the ground. Some reorganization. Perhaps as you turn the chest to face the shin or the space just inside the shin. What happens to the pelvic floor and the muscles when your foot is active and when your foot is not active? Is there a correspondence there? Inhale, walk your way up. I will switch the sides. So it's also occurring to me, we should also do this experiment. All right, so I've got the left leg straightened out. And the experiment is like this. If you feel something in the muscles, the muscular floor, the bottom dome of your pelvis, do kind of work a couple of breaths that slip out of Ujjayi, and then work a couple of breaths with Ujjayi and feel what happens. I'll give you plenty of time to feel that as we're going into this side here. You notice there's a difference between the Ujjayi and the not Ujjayi. And then take as many paths as you need to moving into this chest opener, which is reaching left and reaching the right arm up. Do you notice how the vocal parts of Ujjayi correspond to the felt movement parts of the pelvic floor? There's no coincidence there. And when we slip out and away from that Ujjayi, we're not when we're a little forgetful of the technique of Ujjayi being a voiced breath, aspirated but voiced. Maybe there's a connection loss, a loss of signal to the pelvic floor. Is that, just let that kind of rest there. Forward fold. Inhale, we'll bring the right hand down to the ground. And then facing the sternum toward the ground or the shin. Noticing the relationship between what you feel in the back and are you still feeling something in the pelvic floor? And then inhale, let's walk up. Let's get out of this. Get a little different meditation going. So just for resources, there's these 5 vayus. So this is the yoga language for it. And these vayus are ways and directions, characteristics of energy moving in the body. And this what we're just kind of exploring right now is any pelvic breath, pelvic throat connection is part of the, I don't want to get it wrong, but I think it's the upana, it's the U one. It's the vayu with a U. All right? So let's lie back. It's kind of fun and interesting that these vayus have some correspondence to Eastern medicine and the different qualities and movements of energy in their system and mapping system. Not direct, I wouldn't say it's one-to-one, but there's some very strong correlations. All right. So as we're using the abdominals, we're going to focus through the front of the body today. So part of where I'm focusing, I'm just reaching up and just putting some little landmark touch points. Got a right here, some liver and stomach points there. Okay, so right between the big toe bone and the neighboring toe bone. And we'll be kind of riding up or focusing up through the front of we'll say the shin, just to be general. And I am being general, and that way I can't lead you too astray, right? And then we'll be focusing up, kind of like flanking our midline. So it's like a little line, or we'll say like a track, left of the midline, right of the midline. And there are some further reaches of points that go beyond the collarbone and into the face. And that's always fun. That kind of goes up to the cheekbone, temple. Okay. But we're going to just focus from the eyes, kind of down the... I'm probing. I'm just kind of laying my tracks right now with my fingers, so that when I do this with my muscles, I just connect the dots. Inhale. We'll lift the head and the shoulder blades up off the ground. So moving from my eyes, almost like my eyes can just look right down my midline toward my navel. There's this tailbone move, which is a pelvic floor move, which is a low abdomen move. And then exhale, reaching out through the left leg. I'm going to spread the foot bones. And yes, I'm going to forefoot forward a little bit. So put a little stretch through the front of the shin and the front of the ankle, right up through those inner foot bone spaces, pulling the low belly down. Inhale, bend the left knee. Curl tailbone. Exhale, right leg reach out. I'm just going to forefoot forward, just putting a little bit of stretch through the front of the shin and the top of the foot, pull low belly down. Inhale, bend the right knee. So the cues will remain the same. We know how to proceed doing this. Exhale, reaching out through the left. We'll turn of the elbows, pull the low belly down. Inhale. Curling tailbone. Exhale, right leg reach out. All right. Continue. Let's do 3 more per side. There we go. So as we're doing, as we're locating and emphasizing the feeling through the front line of the body, you notice how it's more of a little bit of a compression for the torso, and maybe a little bit of a stretch or stretch and some muscle on through the leg part. There's lots of ways we can sense into these tracks and continuous strands through the body. So I'm looking right now at the kind of the structural map of this. Superficial front line, according to the work of Myers. Let's grab our roll or a block, and we'll place this on the inside of the leg. To me, this is going to go a little bit more into the deep front lines. We're getting all this kind of deeper musculature, deeper in that it's situated closer to the spine, further away from the surface of our body. And we can do picture time in a little bit if you want to see just the difference. All right, so we've got the roll, we've got the thing. Inhale. So already we're balancing the legs up vertically. Go ahead, squeeze object. Hold the squeeze and start to straighten the legs. So you're squeezing with your legs basically mostly straightened. Ease, straighten. And as you exhale, lifting the head, shoulders off the ground, that front side gets a little compressive, just like a little ringing action. And then we stretch the legs a little bit more, pulling, drawing the low belly down. Do you feel anything going on in the pelvic floor? Inhale, relax the head down, relax the legs a little bit off the object. Squeeze the object, and then exhale, floating the head and the shoulder blades off the ground. Structurally, this deep front line has lots going on at the floor of the pelvis. As you sink and draw the belly down and in, what gets moving between the deep inner thigh and the deep bottom of the pelvic bowl? Inhale, let the head down. And as you're squeezing the legs, go ahead, mostly straighten. Exhale, so they're not all slack. Lifting the head, shoulder blades up, more fully straightening. And I'm saying straightening, you don't have to straighten, right? But everyone's tension, set points are different. Pull low belly down, noticing, feeling the pelvic floor. And let's continue, let's do about 5 more. So in my book, in my book of generalities, these may put a little bit more, we'll say flavor, in some of these deeper structures pertaining to those deeper reflexes, inner leg, pelvic floor, spine. All the way to those inner knees. Don't forget those inner knees. There you go. That's it. There you go. Sometimes I'll see the knees buckling out. I know you're bleeding off sensation or tension or whatever, however that's occurring to you. But kind of the little knee bend out to the side is a little bleed off of tension or sensation, usually. So you've mapped it in your body. If you feel done with those and you want to see the maps, feel free to just roll over and help yourself to noticing these. If you don't care, that's fine. A good map seems to enhance my visional capacities. All right. So I'm going to point at this is the deep front line, we might say, according to the work of Myers. So this is something I'm always kind of watching when we do these abdominals. It's this little area in the inner knee. And I can show you what I mean by bleeding off the tension if you want to see a demonstration of that. You can see how they ride right up into these are like stations, like super salient structural points that all these muscles and ligaments seem to node into. They're like little structural nodes. And the abdominal before, it's kind of more this, just wanted to point to what we were probing, this front line all the way down the shin into the foot. Okay, so let me just do a little demonstration if you want, and I'll show you both of these, the lines in action. That's funny. Lines in action. So this is just how I might use a visual aid like that in enhancing some structurally relevant points to my muscular or ligamental or energetic health. So, so when we're doing the elbow to knee, this whole front line, torso line, from the sternum, through the ribs, through the rectus, all the way down. So as I'm lifting, I'm walking my way through this line, compressing, condensing. I'm actually condensing the line. I don't have to lift very much. And then as I'm exhaling, I'm focusing and stretching that whole front of leg line. Does it matter if I stretch or condense? I say no. Okay, because there's just a multitude of tools that are available to work with these linear planar systems. Okay, but again, it's kind of condensing. And that becomes part of the meditation, if you will. And then what I meant by bleeding off, so say I've got the object, I'm doing my abs with a roll, right? No tension, a little bit of tension, a lot more engagement. See if I can snug these pants off. So focusing right. So here's muscle. This is my kneecap, right in there. So I'm just going to do a little bleed off as I'm calling it. You see that? It's as small as that. So to me, that's bleed off. I feel that less as compressive or stretch or sensory illuminating, we'll say, if I just, that's much more on. That's bleeding it off. Much less. Much more. Much less. I just want you to see it. To me, there's just a teeny tiny little rotation, and then the musculature, and it just takes you right into those inner knees. Let's do just 4 more reps. You're down for it, right? Sure. So what's another way to kind of work this? Is I'm using the tool, the roll, and there's just a slight little rotation as I'm engaging the muscles, that situates me, that makes more salient, more noticeable, more sensory illuminated the inner part of that knee. Just give it a try. Give it 3 or 4 breaths of investigation. Yeah. It may feel like to you like you're trying to turn your kneecaps in. You're not, but it's that one of my students has an interesting turn of phrase. They say kneading the thighs in. It's an interesting phrase. There you go. There. It's not locking the knees. It's just accessing and following the use of that roll all the way to the inner knee. There you go. That's plenty. That seems good. That's different. That's different than a bit ago. Well, cool. All right. Let's set the feet down and the prop down. Hope that was worthwhile. Good. And let's set up for dolphin. If you want, completely optional, you could put a block at the foot of your mat. So if you're still trying to play with, where's my inner knee? Where do those muscles go? Is this worth feeling? If you want to keep playing, you could put a block back there and just kind of work with the block. It's like just letting your feet play with the block to help your knees. Is it necessary? No. A little bit of open sandbox time today. Inhale, push the earth, broadening through the tops of your shoulder blades. And then exhale, press the knees off the ground. There may or may not be back there to play with. It doesn't matter. However you want to work with this. Some people like to focus robustly in the legs in their dolphins. Some people like to focus quite a bit in the shoulders and the arms. And then some of you will go, I bet you I can make this a whole leg, whole arm situation. All right. Completely optional. Just if you decide to do it, it'll just let me see your knees. If you want to raise one leg away from the ground for a few breaths and then switch, I would be happy to observe knees and leg lines. But I want you to work it the way you want to work it. Mm-hmm. There you go. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm just curious to learn how the working with leg up like so, as you're doing, is that inner knee, does that seem to come in and come on? Is there a different quality of energy through the leg? And it looks like so. There you go. Yeah, it looks like so 100%. And then the next thing I just naturally want to wonder is that changing the energy, the structure, the seaming support through the pelvic floor and the low back? So that's where my eye is wondering. And you'll be on your own to switch, and you'll be on your own to set things down and rest. There's no rush. But I'm glad you're finding the inner leg all the way to the knee in this leg up position. Thank you. The leg looks a lot, almost like brighter. The leg, all the legs. And there's a quality of the knee got invited to the party. That's what it looks like. It looks like the knee got an invitation to the leg party. Sometimes we're just like, knee can go any old which way. All right, so that's great. Let's rest out a dolphin. And there's a couple of things I want to work with the wall. So a little bit of parameter check. So I'm going to move into a seated straddle facing the wall. And the point of me being in seated straddle facing the wall is to use the wall with my palms, or if I can't reach, to use blocks, and to create a nice little palm pressure that further helps me explore the pelvis, the splits, and just get some things primed for things like handstand. So here's me in straddle facing wall. I'm taking some guesses right now. I don't know what's going to happen. And one is, can I palm the wall? If so, there you go. Setup complete. Another option is bringing your blocks over. And maybe I have to go a little bit, maybe I walk my hands higher up the wall. It really depends on your back, your hips, your pelvic floor. So I don't know how this will go for you, but we'll certainly find out, and you'll help me learn. So straddle facing the wall, palms to surface. Let's see what we get. The amount of wall that you need is just for your hands, unless you have a very flexible splits position. Okay. Not too stretchy. If it's overly stretchy and you feel like a real difficult pulling sensation, just adjust it. Make it a little bit more on the moderate side so that we can explore picking up on our breath, feeling our breath in our back, feeling our breath in the inner leg, in the pelvic floor area. If I get too wound into the stretch component of it, I might miss the moving dynamic breath part of it. There you go. And you'll just have to walk the hands up or down, depends on your chest, on your, your spine, on your shoulders. There you go. Good. Good. And you're giving me a lot of information. Thank you. So the palm press, as I'm sure you've already started to notice, is both helping us be stable here, and there's a bit of an intensifier. Like if I push very strongly, there's lots of sensation in that inner leg area. And I want you to hear the Ujjayi breath. Remember, Ujjayi is a voiced breath, aspirated. Aspirated, but voiced. Okay? And when you hear that voiced breath, Ujjayi, what are you noticing? What are you feeling in the pelvic floor? Now we can do one more little exercise here, depending on if you're kind of in a comfortable meditative spot. So if you're willing to hang for about 4 more breaths, stay with. I got a secondary little exercise. And if you want to start to exit, that's fine too. So second exercise, you can feel for engaging, so being extra muscular through the front of the pelvis. That would be like holding one's urination and then releasing it, breathing. And then we can do one kind of extra muscular activity of gathering up the back half of the pelvis, which is like holding poop, and releasing it, relaxing it, breathing. So just use 2 simple contractions just to further map all of this area. All right. So once you walk your way out of this wall splits, so some sensations and shapes we'll maybe play with as we're doing things like handstand and pike straddle and stuff like that. Okay. And I want to actually go to dolphin at the wall right now. So you got your wall spot. Maybe your mat's there. We're going to go dolphin with hands clasped. When you're ready, we'll exhale, the knees up. Inhale, a foot up. Then exhale, another foot up. Now maybe there's a chance, just kind of probing and just exploring around the front of the pelvis and the back side of the pelvis. Maybe there's the ability to orient your pelvis in space. Can you feel which muscles might contribute to that? Can you move your pelvis in space? Does it tip this way or that way? How does that feel on your back? We'll give this anywhere from 4 to 6 breaths. Yeah. So something I'm wondering is how we can work together to draw ourselves out of that nearly 100% of us, kind of the butt shifting back and the low back seeming kind of compressed. It's kind of, I just looked I want to help you find more support for that. It might be spacing, but I'll think about it. Let's stand at the top of our mat. We're going to move through suns, and we'll just get into some breath work and stance. Chair pose. Inhale, bend knees, reach arms up overhead. Exhale, fold, softening through the neck, the spine. Monkey, inhale, I'm stretching the collar and the chest away from the lap. Exhale, step back. You could jump back. Chaturanga. I'm going to use Cobra. Inhale. Shift the pelvis. And then when you move and spread your breath into your pelvis and back, the breath spreads in there in a very different shape. Exhale, downward dog. We'll lower. Hands under chest. And press back. All right. Inhale, step any foot forward because we're going to take a wide, symmetric stance. How wide? 2, 3 feet? 4 if you got really long legs? Not too wide. We're going to do some rounds of Agnisara. So you'll get the benefit of getting to relax and redraw and relax and redraw your abdomen. And we'll find out what we find out, right, pelvis? Right. Inhale into the low belly. I hope you talk to your body parts all the time. It's fun. Exhale, swift, thorough exhalation. I hope we're on good terms and we can talk with our body parts. And we draw the belly in and release. Draw the belly in and release and draw in and release. Good time for breath. Breath is dialogue. Let's take a couple more rounds of Agnisara. I just want to step out of the pacing of it, so you can have your pace, and then I can just get a feel-see for what you're doing. Or maybe what you're feeling. Okay. Interesting. I'm interested by the results. Right. All these organs developing from the middle layer of our early tri-layer self. Lateral sides. Yeah, I get the distinct impression, it's a feeling impression, it's a sense impression of a pretty significant squeeze gather in the organs. So I wonder if, we'll give us time for up to one more. I wonder if some of us are shaping, kind of impelling, shaping the organs to push in when you're doing Agnisara. And it struck me because I don't have that pushing in or squeezing in feeling when I do these. I'll do a last round with you. That's so interesting. I've never felt that before, but thank you for for letting that show. Yeah, I get the distinct impression that there's a mind. I don't know who, but there's a quality of mind that is conforming the technique by pushing things in. That's the impression, and it's quite an pressure in and on the organs. Huh. So let's keep a wide stance and let's just play another moment with that. I'm responding with you. Some days are a little more improv. When we fold, feel free to put your hands on the ground, just like we did the straddle at the wall. And feel free to enter, exit, enter as many times as you need to track with the pelvic floor, to track with the sound of breath. One thing I'm anticipating is that some of us kind of launch to the floor without breath, and then maybe we pick up on breath later, but then our pelvic floor is already subscribed to a certain carriage or way of getting us there. So I wonder if we hear and feel our breath, if we feel the pelvic floor as we're moving into the fold. I stopped myself because I needed to check. Okay, we can do a little flank stretch. Usually I would just reach over and grab my foot, but I'm not sure I want to go that far. Maybe what I do is just walk my left hand to the right. And it's not about the hand position, because I'm still responding to the impression of the gut squeeze. I'm just going to reach my hand so that I can start to feel the waist, the area just above the left hip bone. And that's where I'm going to breathe. And if it's been a day or 3 since you talked to your organs, maybe now's a good time. Hey there, Colin. Good to be in touch with you. Thank you so much. That's a wild thing. Let's switch side. So our body is always, its mission is us. So I'm going to walk the right hand to the left. The purpose of the hand placement is just to find a way to get in touch with the waist. I'm just going where I felt the impression from the Agnisara, but on the right side. Release. We'll walk the hands centrally. And I'm going to heel toe the feet in just enough so that I can start to move into triangle. Let's go right foot face forward. We'll make this right side the front side for now. So turn the feet. I'm just going to kind of reorganize my torso from the ground into triangle. I imagine it's in triangle and some of these straddle places where there's maybe a flicker or a signal loss when it comes to feeling breath in the the perineal area. So that's the why for today. That's the why. So some of these poses, triangle, straddle, folds, side, kind of side angle things. My sense of us collectively doing them is, I wonder if we, lose a little connection to breath in the transition, in the pose. There you go. Yeah, and because that wall is right there, which you don't need a wall, but if you wanted to use the wall and do a little push like we did the straddle at the wall, that's another wonderful way to do triangle. Right. Now, we're going to make a very simple switch to the other side. So strong legs, active feet. Use your right hand on your shin. Inhale. Press. Left hand reach. Come all the way up. We're just going to do a little switcheroo. No vinyasa. All right, so left foot point forward. And triangle. In we go. Just like on the ground. Is there breath? Is there breath connection to the bowl, the bottom dome of the pelvis? This is my opinion, my experience. Is I have the belief, I have the experience belief that the connection to breath in the pelvis might be more valuable than the stretch of higher value a priori, than the stretch sensation that we can create in the groin area. So I'm not going after a stretch necessarily. You certainly could. And one of the ways, if I was oriented toward I want to feel stretch, one of the strategies I know that I have is to cut off, to squeeze down on the pelvic floor, because I know that will create more tension elsewhere in the body, and I'll experience that or interpret that as stretch. So I'll question the stretch sensation. Okay. And then we'll press back up. So legs active, muscles on, feet active. Inhale, left hand push, right arm pull. And then we'll heel toe the feet together. Let's have a seat. One more straddle side bend. And that should be taking us right up to where the clock says what the clock says. We're getting earlier and earlier lights, so come spring I'll be totally happy to start us earlier and practice longer. All right. But this year I'm taking my dictates from the sun. So all sun all the time. Side bend. So I'm going to go with feet active, legs active. Inhale. Again, I'm going to just play with and let the muscles of the pelvic floor tell me if I need to backtrack. Back it up, buddy. Re-enter. Reach the left arm over the right leg. The pelvic floor lets me know when I can start to remain in this posture. The awareness of the perineal area, to me, it brings so much energy into everything. Every posture, every transition, every, like, moving with that awareness of the breath and the perineal area, just so much energy. Inhale. Let's draw ourselves out of the right side. And again, I would just want you to take as many little doses in toward the left side. So I'm not trying to get there. I'm just noticing where I might feel the pelvic floor muscles kind of, or where I might stop breathing, and then I'll just try again. Just back out, try again. There's certain places I can inhale, but the exhale gets a little fuzzy. Side bend over the left leg. Inhale, let's walk out of there. Let's help the legs together. And let's lie back. So bring this to a close. In some ways, this work that we get to do, this meditation, this yoga, this, however we want to call it, embodiment, evolution, spiritual practice, is coming up with new energy solutions to old energy problems. I think a lot of our refinements are increasing the complexity and the embrace of our energetic capacity. Because while it seems like such an unsaleable thing to want to do arduous emotional uncovering and emotional resolution, the energetic efficiency and the coherence of a system that's done that work is beyond compare. The way energy moves and circulates and behaves is so incomparably different. It's just when we can think and reason through multiple perspectives, we solve for energy inefficiencies in ways that I don't think we would ever want to go back. So freeing up the body isn't just about wellness or well-being and feeling good, though it does. It frees up our life force to take on the things that we love deeply, deeply, deeply. Resources us to love more deeply. So let's bend knees. We'll turn to a side. And we'll press to seated. Pleasure. Namaste.